so-called missing middle, and that was something that was pointed out here. Affordable housing was mentioned as well. 33% of the respondents said that, as well as townhomes, which is pretty prevalent in the downtown and the surrounding neighborhoods. This next question asked about mobility or, improvements to mobility. What would you like to see? And the top answers were streetscape improvements, improving or building upon success of the cultural trail, traffic calming. So a lot of vehicular traffic coming through, in and out, through knifing through downtown. Could we do something to really control that so that it's a better downtown environment? And also sidewalks, improving that, making it a little more safer for pedestrians. So hearing all of that, that was really quick, but we, kind of aggregated all of those into key statements, what we call the declarative statements about what the public sees as downtown, what downtown Hagerstown is blank. And there were four, statements that we bucketed these statements from the public. And the first one is my downtown Hagerstown is vibrant, so sense of vibrancy. We noted that anchors like the Meredith Park, Maryland Theater, downtown events really bring people in and bring vibrancy. So could we continue to build on that, celebrate that, and make that something that downtown Hagerstown is known for? However, the downtown core also needs more businesses. So more restaurants, more shops, retailers generate more foot traffic. And of course, if you generate more foot traffic, you'll have to the source of that would be visitors as well as residents. So, in both ways that could be attract those sources. But downtown has a unique opportunity for new mixed-use development. Some of the vacancies that you might see now, could we see that as a potential opportunity to fill them with the shops and restaurants and attractions that people really want? The next bucket on the right side in the blue, the next statement is my downtown Hagerstown is connected. So what do we mean by that? What do we hear in that regard? One statement is improve downtown streets and alleys to enhance walkability. So walking, sense of safety, sense of aesthetic, beauty. I think people wanted that. People want that in the downtown streets. And also cultural trail is an undeniable strongest asset of downtown. So continue to build on that. And Chris will go into some of the ideas about building on the cultural trail. Downtown's connection to the neighborhoods. So there are neighborhoods kind of surrounding the downtown. Could we, make it a more pleasant connection between the neighborhoods to walk to and from and travel from these neighborhoods? And lastly, as I mentioned, the vehicular traffic going through downtown. It's not for cars, it's just a way to get through downtown really quickly. But as a pedestrian, as a shopper, as someone coming for events, it does provide some difficulties and challenges to maintaining a vibrant downtown environment. The third bucket is the third statement is the downtown Hagerstown should be and is celebrated. So what we heard is that downtown needs more community scale parks, green spaces, gathering areas with a special focus on the public square right here, there, kind of turned around, and the surrounding area. So it really could be the focal point of a continued revitalization of downtown Hagerstown. So it's kind of the hub within the hub within the hub kind of situation, and that could be right here in the center of downtown. And also, those of us that are from outside, especially our colleagues from Atlanta, they came up here and they were marveling at the architectural beauty of Hagerstown, because this is very unique in America these days, that a downtown has this kind of architectural footprint, the bones in which you can build upon. So that is a clear asset. So celebrate that, celebrate the history of buildings, what used to be there in the 1800s and 1900s, kind of play that up, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But and also the use of public art and placemaking, making a sense of enhancements on the street. I think that could actually play a big part in celebrating Hagerstown. And lastly, activating and programming different things. Again, a lot of things are going on, a lot of great things. Downtown group is great, doing great stuff, but can we continue to build on that, celebrate that, and make it public so that people can travel from all over the place to come visit. All right, the last set of key directions that we heard is that my downtown Hagerstown should be welcoming or is welcoming. So what do we mean by that? We heard that the need for downtown to feel more safer. Again, we're speaking to the perception as well as the reality, and more welcoming for locals, yes, but also for visitors. So, playing up the positives, the vibe, the buzz, all of that, you name it. I think that would be a key way to kind of market the downtown as a place to come and visit and enjoy yourself. Improve the overall image, I think it speaks to that same thing as well. So perception is a big thing for people that are potential shoppers and visitors around the surrounding county area. What is their perception? How could we get into their minds and hearts so that they can start perceiving downtown as something of an asset, not something to avoid? There's an opportunity to attract more tourists and visitors. Again, speaking of the history, as well as the natural beauty of the aesthetics here, as well as the anchor institutions, the theater, obviously the baseball stadium, and other restaurants and unique things that are going on here. There's continued effort for tourism and for attraction. And lastly, downtown needs more things to do. So adding not just established shops and institutions, but like more activities on top of each other. So I think that is what we heard in terms of this aspiration for downtown to be more welcoming. Okay, so we'll pivot here and we'll go to market analysis. So we heard from the public, but we also did a lot of work in kind of studying the real estate market in various components of it. So here in the report, there will be a pretty detailed technical memorandum, if you are interested in reading through that, of the market for each of these 6 areas. But today we'll just go over the key highlights of each market and potential opportunities that we saw. So first, the for sale market, for sale housing market. So there's a lot of townhomes, and resale townhomes are in the highest demand we see in terms of housing in the downtown area. Sale prices that we observed are below what we call the replacement cost. So it's if that building were to be torn down or rebuilt, the price that the cost of replacing that is much higher than the actual value of the housing currently. So what that means is that market rate construction of for sale housing remains to be a challenge currently without deep subsidy filling the gap. So the for sale market strategy that we see for downtown for now is to continue stabilizing and intervening in the existing housing stock to make sure it doesn't slip further. Some of the investor activity, I think there has to be some monitoring of that so it becomes responsible tenants, responsible landlords, not just people from California that are buying these up and renting them without really much maintenance. Those are the kind of things that we want to recommend that as part of the for sale housing strategy. Rental housing, however, we saw a pretty robust market. The Updegraff and the Aria are new market rate apartments that are currently on the market being leased up. They're not quite completely absorbed yet, but we think it'll happen soon. However, we see not the highest levels of rent that Updegraff and the Aria is trying to achieve, but then right below that, nice new newly renovated, nicely furnished apartments that are targeting perhaps young professionals or even empty nesters. But the market is still kind of dormant in that middle segment, upper middle segment. So if there are apartments that are nicely furnished, newly renovated or newly built, but are a tick below the highest market prices of the Updegraff and the Aria, we think that would be very attractive to many potential new downtown renters. Next, retail. We looked at retail, the whole, kind of how many different categories. We did a full retail market analysis. and saw a few but notable opportunities. So retail is appropriate for the downtown Hagerstown area are mainly in two buckets: food and dining. What people want, there's actually a lot of need for that. Full service restaurants, bars, drinking places, snacks and beverages. We're talking coffee. There's a terrific coffee shop, we know, but there could be more added to that. Ice cream shops, other desserts, etc. So that I think those can work very well, as well as specialty food, not a grocery store per se, but something that's really targets a specific niche special food item, as well as some miscellaneous retailing. We think that could work as well. Pet store, art dealer, home furnishings, those kind of smaller footprints that would fit well within the confines of the buildings here. Next, hotel market. We think that there is a market for hotels, though right now the existing demand will be absorbed by the new True by Hilton. We're staying at the sister hotel at the Home 2, so we're looking right at it. It's almost done, we think. So that'll suck up a lot of the demand that's currently in existence. But by early 2027, which is 12 months from now, which is crazy, we think there will be somewhere between 60 to 100 hotel rooms that could be absorbed in a new facility. And we think that downtown could be a place where the hotel demand could be absorbed. It's not going to look like a Home 2 or True, most likely, in the downtown. And Chris will look at potential examples of what kind of hotel facility could work here. Next, office. Office is kind of iffy. Office has been up and down, pretty much down since COVID pandemic, and many of us were doing Zoom meetings, Teams meetings, and so office market is suffering all over the country. It's anemic, and many offices are converting to residential. However, in downtown Hagerstown, in terms of the supply, we saw a lot of buildings with smaller professional services that could accommodate a lawyer or a realtor or an insurance agent or even a city planning consulting firm. So those could all work here in the current footprint. However, if there was a larger corporation or a regional office that wants to come into downtown because it's a great place, there's a lot of restaurants, their workers like living here or working here, they will walk to work, etc. There isn't a high, quality Class A space of scale to accommodate them. So that is something that we want to bookmark and say, perhaps by a certain time as these things are happening, that we should also keep in mind that some of these sites could be somewhere an office user of scale can locate here. So that's something to footnote. We don't think there's a market. We haven't come across any stakeholder that said we are trying to build. We're not saying that, but we think if there were hypothetically user like that, the downtown could be an environment that adds to everything that we're talking about: visitors and foot traffic, customers for the restaurants. Lastly, in this section, the co-working space, there are 3 notable co-working spaces, high quality ones. So we don't think there's a market to add any more of that at this time. So last, we will go to entertainment, and then I'll hand it back to Chris to continue with the catalytic sites. Entertainment. So typically entertainment, we're talking about movie theaters. Movie theaters, it's difficult these days with movie theater. Netflix is actually gobbling up everything, including Warner Brothers, maybe. But the movie business has kind of changed a little bit from multiplex and giant things with a huge parking lot around it to, in this kind of environment, something smaller. So we think perhaps a micro cinema, something that offers perhaps even dining and food or even drinks, could work in an environment like this. We're not necessarily saying there's a clear evidence for demand for that right now, but we think something like that could be part of the mix. Same thing for bowling alleys. Bowling alley, we're thinking more of an entertainment venue, not just a bowling, like Tuesday night bowling league type of a place, Bowl America, etc. The blast from the past. But these bowling alleys are entertainment areas with an arcade, with a bar, with you can go there to watch a game. So these kind of venues have worked in downtown environments, and we think Hagerstown could be in line to absorb something like that in the future. So just to keep in mind. So that's it for market analysis, and we'll go to
Thank you, Isaac.
downtown sites.
Okay, so, based on that analysis and the feedback from the community and stakeholders, and working with the city very closely, we came up with a series of key downtown opportunities, and we see that in three kind of major areas, from catalyst sites, which is kind of the way we did it in the last 10-year plan. Also, more of the public realm, the streets and open space areas where we see some opportunities. And then kind of rounding that out are more programmatic types of things, not necessarily physical improvements, but programmatic improvements. So we'll go through each of these. For the catalyst sites, you're, I'm sure, familiar with all of them. We looked at sites in the 10-year plan 10 years ago, and several of those have been realized, and some however have not, and they've made this list again because we think that they're very important. They're kind of, the location is key, in proximity to other key sites, and the rehabilitation of those sites we think are really key for an overall downtown revitalization strategy. So this map shows the ones we're focusing on, kind of where they all lie in proximity to one another. Some are buildings, some are vacant parcels, and we'll get into each of them briefly next here. The first one we're calling the Summit Avenue Row. We think there's a lot of opportunities on that stretch, anchored by, of course, the Herald Mail building. And then at the other end, you've got the County Court building, you've got the Discovery Station building, and then some pretty key buildings in between. So we wanted to treat that as a collective in a way, because we think, the revitalization or the reuse of all of those could really make a significant impact on the downtown. So starting with the Dagmar, I'm sure this comes up all the time. It's one of those sites that we talk about. We do think that upper floor market rate apartments would be ideal for this site, together with ground floor retail and dining perhaps. We are actually, for some of these sites, we are performing an economic feasibility. So we're actually going to do a pro forma to pencil out the improvements to see if they're we want to make sure it's not a pipe dream, some of these things we're recommending. So that one does appear to be an economically viable use for the building, for market rate apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom units, and that would be a fantastic use. So the idea is hoping that if we can demonstrate to a prospective developer, this could work, you should invest in this building, whether they're the owner or whether there's someone who's considering selling it, maybe they don't know what to do. But either way, we think having that as a tool to demonstrate that this could really work is important. So I'll point out where we're going to do that for each of these properties. The Shockey building up the street a little bit, great building. Again, we think ground floor retail with upper floor housing. This, being in close proximity to the university, USMH, we're wondering, hey, could this possibly be some additional student housing as well? Maybe it's fitted out so a portion of the building is students and the rest is, market rate for anybody. 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units to provide, a variety of housing types. There's potential for, outdoor space if we have some dining in the ground floor. So it's a really interesting property, we think, kind of nestled between, again, the Dagmar and the courthouse. We will also conduct an economic feasibility for that one. We think because it's a great size, it's kind of the perfect size for rehabbing, that's definitely a viable opportunity for a developer to get a decent return on investment for that. The Harold Mell building itself, that's just a really interesting, large opportunity. It's been looked at before. I've seen it advertised online through the office search engine, showing some different use ideas from retail, restaurant to residential, including condos, apartments, potential conference center, hotels. So, the sky's the limit in a way for that one. So it remains to be seen what occurs, but we wanted to make sure that that's included in this plan to just identify this as being a key property that should remain at the forefront of our attention. The Discovery Station building, recently vacated, great opportunity again for, we think, some sort of cultural arts, continue using that as that type of use is really a great use for that building. I think it lends itself well to that and its location as well. So again, that's a recent addition to the inventory that we want to just make sure is noted and remains in the plan. And then across the street, the Circuit Court building, that's to be determined as well. Like that's, we'll see what happens if that moves. That's a great opportunity for a new use. So again, I'm just highlighting that as a key opportunity. So that's what we're calling Summit Avenue Row. Let's switch to another site right around the corner in North Potomac. This, partial parking, partial, city-owned building. This is an interesting site because it's underutilized right now, strategically located, but we wanted to just highlight that as having future potential as well, both for possibly new development infill or rehab of the existing buildings. We think use is ideal for that site would be continued office, perhaps maybe hotel. We talked about the opportunity for a new hotel in a year or so. That could be a great site. So just wanted to identify that as a key site over the next few years that could be an important part of filling in some of the vacancy. Similarly, 50 East Washington Street. So that continues to be a parking lot. I think that was featured in the prior plan as a really key site for potentially office. I think that could still be a good use for that. We think also possibly a hotel could go there as well. Great location for that type of use. And the way that the property is, it's, kind of wide like that, potentially maybe an additional residential use. Obviously, it would be a new construction since it's a vacant lot right now, but that could be an opportunity for, adding an interesting element to the residential mix by it being new as opposed to rehabbing a beautiful old building. We just wanted to show some examples. When we talk about future office building, Isaac mentioned the Class A, larger footprint that could be available if a business comes to Hagerstown and says, we want to move our headquarters to the area. Is there anything downtown? Is there any opportunity for that? And so I think this is the kind of thing we're thinking, like a 3 to 4 story building, urban scale, ground floor retail, dining. This type of idea that could fit well in downtown Hagerstown. So this is another property that we will do a feasibility for. So we'll model, a office building prototype that the city could potentially, share or advertise to any potentially prospective tenants or developers, just to give them, again, an idea that, this could work in downtown Hagerstown. We've run some numbers. If you're interested, we've done some homework for you, so I think that could be a valuable tool. Similarly, the hotel, a hotel with ground floor dining. A lot of most hotels have a restaurant or a bar or something like that in an urban setting. We think that would be a good kind of prototype for Hagerstown as well. These are just 2 examples of name brand flag, I guess what's the word for it? Marriott and Hilton with more of a boutique type of branch of their hotel chain, I guess, if you will. Not the typical Marriott or Hilton, but and again, you're seeing the boutique style in a lot of downtowns where it's a smaller hotel. I think you've got the full variety of hotels that someone passing through Hagerstown can easily get off the highway and stay. But I think the idea here is more of a destination. If someone wants to come for the weekend and see the sights and do some recreation and maybe go to a ball game and really be in town in a unique overnight experience, that this would be the type of thing. And we do think, based on both the room demand and the physical environment, could really lend itself well to something like this. And we will do a feasibility for this as well. So we'll do a hotel prototype to, again, just say, hey, this size hotel, in Hagerstown could probably work if somebody wanted to come in and develop that. Moving on to South Potomac, large opportunity site there at the corner of West Antietam and South Potomac, right around the corner from the baseball stadium, right behind Herald Mail Building. This has been discussed as residential with ground floor retail. We think that's a great use for that site. We will program an apartment building concept that could be, and see how that shakes out in terms of the numbers. But we think that that could really work for a developer with the right financing and the right unit count and the right rents. So that could be a great site to contribute to the rental market that we were talking about earlier. The Holly Building, yet again, another great example of a building that lends itself really well to rehabbing into residential use. So we endorse that idea. We think it's a great location. Perhaps maybe that could be someday shared with some student housing as well. But overall, we think upper floor residential, market rate apartments, ground floor dining, retail, and then probably 1 and 2 bedroom units are really the sweet spot for apartments in the area. The YMCA building, again, beautiful building, great facade, historic in nature, has had some additions, but again, it lends itself really well to residential, we think. So this would be potentially market rate apartments as well, 1 and 2 bedrooms again. And we will as well do a feasibility for this to just, again, demonstrate, this building with a certain number of units of this size and quantity could return this type of investment to a developer who's interested. So finally, in terms of catalytic sites, the former hospital site, as you know, that's been studied and evaluated for a while now. We looked at it 10 years ago, and I think we have a similar thought for that, whereas the central portion as a park, passive open space with a historic theme makes a lot of sense. Surrounding it with housing of a variety of types, whether it's townhomes, apartments, and then using the existing garage, which is a great advantage. That's one less thing a developer would have to construct. So yeah, this is a really key site. It's important, we think, to stay at the top of the list here in terms of priority sites for the downtown area. So we wanted to make sure that that's included in the plan. Okay, so that was kind of the site specific stuff. We wanted to go through several opportunities that we see along the streets and sidewalks and that kind of thing, because we think there's a lot of really exciting ways to continue the momentum downtown through some of these physical improvements. And we've got 4 categories of these improvements. We're calling one humanizing downtown. You've got a great downtown as it is, but we think there are ways to make it even a little more appealing and walkable and greener, at particularly some of the intersections. So we'll get into some of those details. But create a cultural loop is another strategy here. The cultural trail has been like a huge success, and we're suggesting maybe building upon that, creating some sort of loop around the downtown that intersects with that trail to get people to, comfortably and interestingly get to other parts of the downtown. And we'll get into some of those details. The alleyways, you've got a great network of alleys in downtown Hagerstown. So we think it'd be really interesting to reimagine some of those as places, particularly for pedestrians and cyclists, if they want to kind of get off some of the main streets, but then allow them to remain usable for deliveries and that kind of thing. So we'll show you some examples of that. And then finally, in terms of this category, be uniquely Hagerstown. It's a great city. There's a lot of great history. It's got an important identity. So we think some of these physical improvements could, create more placemaking, signage, that kind of thing, wayfinding, so people really know where they are and they know what Hagerstown is all about, really. Again, we'll show you some examples. So back to the humanizing aspect. So as I said, downtown's got some great streetscapes, trees, great sidewalks, very walkable. And then you've got some that, they need some more assistance. They're lacking trees. Some of the sidewalks are really narrow. They're in varying conditions, which is not atypical of most cities. So this map just kind of highlights some of the areas that we think would be best to target for those types of improvements. Summit, Potomac, and a key to this is that they're city-owned streets. As much as we may want to add some elements to Washington and Franklin, it's a Maryland-owned, it's a state-owned street. I think focusing on the city-owned streets is a wiser choice because we've got more control over what those improvements could be. These just show some examples of what we're talking about with the more humanizing. Again, just, making streets, not converting them to a pedestrian use, but sharing it more where, there's the ability to mingle more and have some more events that can take place right on the street. There's sidewalks, pavement treatments that can kind of identify some of those spaces. And of course, features that ensure that the safety between pedestrians and automobiles is maintained as well. So, you can just see here other cities have done some really interesting ideas for that type of thing. The cultural loop. So this map shows the existing cultural trail in orange and some of your key downtown features and how they sort of flank that trail. We're suggesting that a loop kind of intersects that again and surrounds the core of the downtown. And we're suggesting a first phase of that to be along Summit, going back to that discussion we had earlier on all those sites along Summit Avenue. So this would kind of go hand in hand with the private property improvements. So you've got public right-of-way improvements in addition to investing in some of those buildings, which we think could be a really great combination. This shows you some examples of what we're talking about for that cultural loop first phase. So this is the existing street on Summit that continues on to Jonathan. You've got one lane of through traffic with on-street parking. You got the sidewalk, you've got the bike lane, and we're thinking a way to incorporate that cultural loop is one of three different ways, and we're not suggesting one over the other. Just these are some ways to potentially tackle that. The first two would actually remove parking and really widen that sidewalk to create the cultural trail and add it to the streetscape there. So you'd still have the one lane of traffic. You would have the trail alongside of that. Option one has it on the west side. Option two shows it on the east side. And again, this could, go hand in hand with some of those private sector improvements, the building improvements themselves. The one on the right would preserve the parking and just extend the sidewalk a little bit with some elements of the cultural trail to make it clear that this is part of that trail. But we think there's some really interesting options here to extend the cultural loop through this part of Summit Avenue as a first phase. This map shows the extent of the whole loop concept. So again, that phase 1 over on Summit, the rest of it would circle around the immediate downtown, again, intersecting with the existing cultural trail and really allowing folks to, access a lot of parts of the downtown and continue the spirit of the cultural trail with the treatments that it has and, hopefully extend its popularity throughout other parts of downtown. The next item is the alleyways. And again, you've got great alleys. I think these photos really capture your existing system so well. This map shows the location of some of those key alleys. And again, we're aware that, some of them are used for deliveries and access. And I think the idea is to allow those to remain functional that way, but just to treat them a way that lets them stand out as special and places to congregate. This shows kind of a secondary set of alleys that, could also be improved to create a real extensive network of downtown alleys. And this next slide shows examples of how that could look here. These are from other cities, but you can see some of the treatments that are made to really liven up those spaces and make them kind of special gathering spots from lighting, murals, paint treatments on the surfaces, signage, really interesting ways to make those alleys, again, special places to congregate. And it's just a unique part of downtown. Be uniquely Hagerstown. So we've got a few key suggestions for that. We want to make it easy to follow. So once you're downtown, you've got a signage system, but kind of, enhancing that. So if people want to know where things are on foot, they can do that easily, and incorporating interesting elements into that signage with art, sculpture, that kind of thing. Make downtown welcoming. That's really focusing on the gateway areas and probably more for the automobiles coming into town. So you've arrived in downtown Hagerstown, located at all the key entrances. The map on the next slide will show some of those locations. The next point is making downtown contextual. And what we mean by that is, telling the city's history in its signage. So when people are in some of the park areas or making their way around downtown, they can really get a sense of Hagerstown's really interesting and colorful history as part of that journey. And then this last one's kind of fun, but make downtown famous. So, we were reminded that there's a lot of famous people from Hagerstown, and we think it'd be really interesting and fun to celebrate those famous folks who were born and raised here, and we'll show you some examples. So this map again shows where some of those improvements might occur. The orange symbols are the gateway treatments, and again, those are more probably auto focused. So if you're driving into town, all those key entry points into downtown Hagerstown are identified as you're here. I'm sure you're here because it's quite obviously a great downtown as you enter, but these signs would solidify that. The make downtown easy to follow, that's more, for foot traffic once you are downtown, getting your bearings and your way around the cultural loop. Make downtown famous, we're kind of focusing on the Maryland Theater area, thinking that'd be a really fun place to consider a walk of fame, something similar to like, the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And a lot of cities have those. I'll show you an example in a second. And then finally, the make downtown contextual and the areas that, people would congregate, for example, Public Square or Thomas Kennedy Park or, the hospital site, if that becomes a park, adding some of those contextual placemaking history signage to those areas. This slide shows, again, examples of those 4 categories of being uniquely Hagerstown that we're talking about. The gateways on the left, you can see some other cities' interpretation of that. The easy to follow, again, those are more pedestrian scale, so people can find their way around. The downtown famous is the stars and the identifying and celebrating the celebrities of Hagerstown. And then the context there on the right, the signage of more of its general history and some of the important things that have occurred in Hagerstown over the years. So, all right, so that's the public realm opportunities, and we'll round things out with what we're calling programmatic opportunities. So not physical, not but programs really. Starting with the housing, we talked about the housing market being, pretty, we think, robust for rental housing. But the notion that, strengthening the existing housing stock is really important as well to make sure that the market continues to rise, that would continue to make it appealing to investors to come in and build more residential facilities for folks. So just increasing that, the strength of the market. So we've got, again, a few sub-strategies for this. The city does a really good job with its programs to assist both existing homeowners maintain and repair their properties, as well as prospective homeowners to purchase. So we laud those opportunities and we say, it's great. Keep that going for sure. The city also has a program to acquire properties and rehab them and resell them. Great programs, very successful, and we would like to see the city, encourage them to keep doing that and seek additional resources to make that happen. The box on the lower right, I think a way to leverage those funding opportunities is through your Choice Neighborhoods program and the new Enough grant. This map here shows the boundaries of those, and it really creates a great opportunity, I think, for downtown in terms of housing. You've got, federal support from the Neighborhood Choice program, and you've got state support from the Enough grant program. The boundaries all kind of intersect, creating, I think, in a way, a perfect storm for leveraging funding to support, housing and housing maintenance and housing purchasing. So we think to the degree that those resources can be combined, and those who run these programs agree that these are they're really ripe to be coordinated with and approved upon as together, leveraged. And then the one on the upper right there is concentrating code enforcement, just ensuring that property maintenance issues are addressed to make sure that the neighborhoods continue to improve and, gain value and contribute to an improving downtown area housing market. Next programmatic area of opportunity, we think, is improving the safety perception. So we think, key to improving the perception of downtown is really getting folks, and I think this was reflected in some of our survey and public feedback, folks that don't live in downtown or come here a lot to have a great experience here and want to come back repeatedly and tell their friends and relatives, like, Hagerstown's great downtown. I had a great experience. It's safe. There's lots to do. I think that's really the ultimate goal here. And some of the ideas to do that, we think, are, continuing your great downtown events. You've got so many. This photo here shows examples. I was just struck by the attendance, and these take place throughout the year. You've got great city staff organizing these events. So we think keep those going. That's great. It would what would be great to continue is the upper right box there. We're promoting these events and following up with the success of the event, saying, hey, here, this event, we had 20,000 people show up, and just really promoting the visitation and the success, and reminding people that a lot of people attend these, a lot of people come downtown, a lot of people have a really good time. The lower left, is the notion of a downtown business improvement district. You've probably seen those in other cities, where that's, it's a nonprofit group that assesses properties on an annual basis to contribute to a fund that supports downtown activities, cleaning, ambassadorship, folks walking around and helping make people feel safer. So that's something to consider. The city does a great job, but any place we've worked with a bid, and we've actually helped some communities start a bid, it's not that the city's not doing a great job, but it's always just enhancing and supplementing and supporting with additional resources, which is always welcome. So that could be something to consider. And then the bottom right is, working with the police and coordinating with them. And, they do a lot of great work promoting the safety of downtown as well. And they acknowledged, maybe we could make it clear to folks what we're doing and promoting our successes of safety. And, they said that, the 2 years of Meredith Park being open, they're like, there wasn't a single event, a single incident in 2 years. So they want to start, advertising the successes that they're seeing as well. So, and to the degree that they can improve their presence downtown, they would like to do that as well. Evening hours, weekend hours, both on foot and on bike. So that could be a great way to contribute to the safety and the perception. Finally, we see the university as a really important anchor in the downtown. It's hoping to expand its footprint over time. It's bouncing back after COVID. A lot of universities saw some enrollment dips, but they're pretty bullish on the future. They've got a 10-year plan. They want to optimize their real estate and their footprint, but they want to increase their enrollment. So, we think there are ways that the city can continue to be a good partner in terms of some of the properties they may own, working with the university as on potential future housing, that kind of thing, but just continue its good relationship with the university. Consider, a parking arrangement perhaps, where the university might, provide parking assistance to its students in some of some of the city-owned facilities, perhaps, as an idea there. And then the one on the lower right is, this notion of synchronizing the businesses with the students, where certain nights classes run later, or the university will have events where the students would really like to grab a bite to eat afterwards, and the nights that they're down there, sometimes they're like, oh man, the businesses have closed. So this notion of a mismatch, and if there could be a coordination where everyone's on the same page, it would be a total win-win. The businesses would get, people coming through the door on nights when there tends to be more folks down there, and they would know, in advance when the busier nights are and can prepare to be open for that. So I thought that was kind of an interesting concept. And this, this just shows you the footprint, as you know, but with the University Plaza is the center there. So, all right, and that is it. That was a lot. But of course, we wanted to open up the floor and hear your comments and your questions. But yeah, thank you for your attention.
I like the idea with the alleys. Because a lot of times if I'm walking downtown, I actually was thinking of the alley between the yarn shop.
Yes,
And I don't know what the
that
other name.
specific alleys come up, exactly.
So I like even the examples you gave with what different cities
Yeah.
did, because I always envision like the string light in the alley, and even like the little market header for
That's
it
right,
to.
that's- yep.
And I was also thinking it could even be like part of the loop, because you can go through it and come out the other way and kind of go in the back way to the University Plaza,
Right,
and then kind of just keep going and attach it to like the culture trail. I mean,
Right.
that's a possibility. But I did always think about that alley, and even maybe along with the art, and maybe even some nights having vendors along
Yeah.
there. It's just an idea, but I did really like the idea of the alleys, because I feel like Hagerstown has a lot of alleys.
yeah, and it's
So-
a unique thing that a lot of
Yeah,
places
so
don't.
the alleys connect
That's right, it's a
all
whole
through the
network.
town, so I like that idea. Thanks.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad those examples kind of highlight some of the possibilities, because, yeah, you visit other cities, and we were talking about, there's one in Cleveland, that you just kind of walk down the street, and all of a sudden the string lights catch your attention,
Yeah.
and like, whoa, there's all kinds of tables and chairs and activities and impromptu street activity, and so it's really, and it's a welcoming environment, feels safe too, so.
Also had a question.
Mhm.
What as far as what was talked about as far as before for the property where the hospital was? Like,
Oh,
what did y'all initially talk about, like, the last time? You know what I mean?
The last 10-year plan had a conference center and hotel, as well as a historical Civil War heritage park associated with it. So it more contemplated a hotel and conference center closer to Washington Street there, and then further back would be like a more of a park amenity.
Yeah, so this makes it more of a residential versus a hospitality use, and focusing suggestions for hospitality closer to the city center. That's kind of the difference between the two. Yeah.
Thank you.
I really like how, one, thank you so much for your efforts, and the community engagement is really big for me. So I'm really happy to see that people completed the surveys and attended the community meetings. But, throughout the years, the city has worked on a lot of these initiatives, from the Catalyst site opportunities, working with the owners there, to the artwork throughout the streets. But for this plan, I really like how it's grouped together, so we can focus, in chunks, I guess, especially when it comes to like quick wins. For me, I'm always about quick wins. The Be Uniquely with the signages, I think that'll be a quick win. We already started, working on that, and invest in alleys. I mean, that has come up so many times with the lighting and stuff like that. And a quick win is promoting the attendance. So I think we're definitely consistent with what we're seeing in the surveys and what this plan shows. But to your point, we could definitely make improvements and enhance in these 10 years, but we can definitely do some of these today.
Yeah, and I think the benefit of a plan like this is, and some of these aren't new ideas, but it's putting it all in one place. That's like a resource, like you said, you can kind of go to it and find it. And some are quicker, some are more long term, and the report will kind of reflect some of those implementation ideas that you're suggesting. So I think that'll help.
And they all tie together too. When we're talking about, again, Catalyst site opportunities, improving the buildings that are vacant, to the artwork, to lighting turns into better perception of the safety, making it more lively for people to come downtown, just, not just to visit, but to live, to have those better housing opportunities. So all of this ties in together in one way or another. So this plan is definitely mapped out to make some things happen.
Yeah, and just made me think of the notion of the the retail aspect, the more we can get people visiting, staying, and living, then all of a sudden that opens up the market more for dining and shops. So until you get that critical mass, you're really depending on the visitors, which they come and go. So that'll really, I think, turn the page with the commercial opportunities once we get more of a critical mass of people living and staying right in downtown. So
I also want to thank you for your efforts as well as the economic development team. We saw the percentages of the people, that filled out the survey. Do you know how many people did the survey approximately? I mean, you might not have the number, but
yeah,
I think 450.
450.
Around
450.
Yeah.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
And I'm also a huge fan of that, investing in alleyways. Scott and I've talked too about the trail that goes to Meredith Park and having that lit up. And I think, in the same way they're making it colorful,
Right. Yeah.
well lit. I was talking to Chief Kuiper's back here too, but I was talking to him as well, for perception of putting cameras in those alleyways as well. And he was talking about an actual monitor that would mount on a building somewhere where people actually can see themselves as they're walking through on the camera system. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
Yeah, it's a great, it really is almost an extension of the cultural trail in a way, because they would all connect. So
I just wanted to say, just watching you guys present, I can tell that we're falling right in line with where the development of the town is going. A lot of the things that you touched on were things that I had written down in vision boards, for example, like the Herald Media Building, the idea of, the town being an experience, right? You want to make sure that we have accessibility, whether it's walking lanes, bike lanes, mom pushing stroller lanes. There's food halls, there's entertainment, there's jazz clubs, there's comedy clubs, there's a lot of things to do, whether it's day and night. There's the unique memory. So a lot of the towns that I visit, my unique memory with my family would be to take a photo of whether it's like the structural element that someone designed or it's the name of the town. So we'll have like a picture, downtown Ithaca, downtown, Ocean City, like things.
Or greetings from,
It would be nice to see like a huge, sculpture that says downtown Hagerstown. That's a memory that someone can take and share on. Parking is a big deal. How easy is it to park here? How expensive is it? How inexpensive is it? The events, for individuals to have the ability to either see it when they're walking around, like constantly of things that are going on, or they're seeing it online prior to them coming here. And all of this is really important because it's going to change the perception of downtown Hagerstown. So once we have that perfect experience, or not close to perfect experience, that people can share that message on and on, it will eventually change the perception of what it is to come to downtown Hagerstown.
Yeah.
So I think you guys did a fantastic job.
thank you. Appreciate it.
So, as you note, I was one of the individuals here during the prior iteration of this. And two things that I recall from that process. The first is it was about $128 million worth of investment-oriented improvements that could be made within your urban core, in the foreseeable future. And it had things that it envisioned that did not come to pass, things that have come to pass that were not envisioned. But irregardless, about 75% of that total, it was envisioned would not come from local government, but would come from private investment or state and federal partners, right? So that's one thing that I remember from that process. The second thing I remember from that process is there was some critical analysis from our citizens that we focused too heavily on the downtown of downtown. meaning like the 4 to 6 block area in the exact place where that investment has occurred. And I think that I would be remiss in not recalling that criticism to look at this presentation. And, while I see in the presentation, a number of the slides sort of outline what we generally understand the parameters of downtown to be, I can't help but notice, two things. One, when we look at all of those, sort of major capital items, they're within that 4 to 6 block area, and they're of a scope that the city absolutely cannot deliver on. And I say that because of this. Unless we have state and federal partners that sort of change their position on how they would like to engage in assisting on those major project items, those buildings that are just too big for us to tackle, or unless some private investor wants to bring in some windfall of money to do so, those things are going to evolve of their own accord in an area that we're already focused on, where people with much greater political ties and much deeper pockets can make those things move with or without us. That's a political reality of someone who's been here for some time to be able to see, recognize, and say. So I have to say to myself, am I going to make these things in this 4 to 6 block happen in this plan that I'm looking at for the next 10 years? And then I have to say to myself, what am I missing? What am I missing that the public wants? And they want safety, they want housing, and they want inclusivity. And I just have to think back to that previous plan and have to look at this and say, you know what? People are concerned about the safety and improvements, let's say, coming into town at Domino's on Prospect, leaving the area on East North, getting through the area on South Locust. These are sort of what I would envision those tertiary sort of blocks of downtown to be, that are not well lit. They are not well kept up in terms of housing, that provide that opportunity to see the city be able to invest in those programs that you allude to, that are things we can afford to do, that actually improve the housing, that bring those citizens we want into housing that then exists, to spur some of that. And all I would say is, from this presentation and this summary, is that we not forget or not focus on those 10 blocks around those 6 blocks in the core that are neglected, that are deficient in those things we want to see and incorporate them into. And that's, I think, what I would like to see added to this is that you're right, we have a great alley system, and the people that live in those neighborhoods know exactly how to use them, but they can be used better. We have a broad stock of that missing middle housing that simply isn't being invested in, because it's as if we don't want to ask, who owns it? What's its condition? How can we contribute to making it better? There are tons of half doubles. I guess I just look at that and say, there's where I feel like we're sort of, we've sort of fixed the middle of the donut, and people with deeper pockets and those ties have done so to our benefit. Our outer area, we're seeing good investment, good development, good stable housing. It's sort of the donut itself now that I'm looking at and going, those are the streets that need lighting. Those are the houses that need improving. Those are the connectivity we need to make between people that want to come downtown, that live just outside downtown, and how you sort of fix that missing middle that has that housing that we're talking about, versus hoping that somebody's going to come in and put 150 units at some of these large buildings, where I just say, yeah, we could definitely jump on board and we could kick 10 million toward a project like that. But man, what would $10 million do for the hundreds and the several thousand properties of houses that exist in those sort of, tertiary blocks of our city, that we want people to come and live in, that we drive by, on a daily basis and go, man, I'd hate to live next to that place, or I wish somebody would fix up that 3-unit, et cetera, and figure out, why that is. That's my 2 cents.
Anybody else? All right,
Great. Just as a reminder that are still receiving feedback through right before Christmas. So if anybody is watching at home, please feel free to go to mydowntownhagerstown.com. There's a contact form that you can fill out, and it'll come to us, and we'll be happy to include those thoughts and comments, as well as you can email us at dped@hagerstownmd.org.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5 minutes. Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess until our regular session. Welcome to the November 25th, 2025 regular session, which is our 27th voting session of the Mayor and City Council of Hagerstown. The meeting is now called to order. I'd like to invite Pastor Les McIntosh up to do the invocation, better known as Pastor Mac. Y'all rise, please.
Every head bowed. To the only wise God, we come and commence this meeting, and we come with this great council, mayor, city administrator, and great citizens of Hagerstown as we come humbly, understanding your wisdom outweighs our thoughts and your will outweighs our ways. As we understand the totality of our existence is based upon and contingent upon your wisdom. So today, lead us as citizens to be educated and enlightened as we exercise our constitutional rights with decency and integrity. We ask that you lead this body today with the integrity and trust given to govern this city to be a place of peace and prosperity, to be a progressive place to call home. And this we ask, in your name we pray, amen and amen.
Thank you, my friend. I stay rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, next up, our announcements, our rules of procedure that is effective on November 18th, 2025. Use of cell phones during meetings is restricted. All correspondence for distribution to elected officials should be provided to the city clerk and should include a copy for the city clerk for inclusion in the official record. Our meeting schedules for January, Tuesday, January 6th, 2026, no meeting is scheduled. January 13th, 2026, work session at 4 p.m. January 20th, 2026, regular session at 7 p.m. And January 27th, 2026, there is no meeting scheduled. That's our day in Annapolis. Next up, we have citizen comments. 30 minutes are for allotted 30 minutes total are allotted for citizen comments, 3 minutes per person for items germane to the city of Hagerstown business. And you'll have that on the board. Everything will be right on the board for the countdown. So I implore everyone to keep it at 3 minutes, please. So first up, we have Zoe Burnett.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Zoe Burnett. I'm the Washington County Regional Director for Vote 16, and I proudly serve on the Hagerstown City Youth Council. I've stood at this podium many times advocating for the young people of this city, students who care enough to show up, learn the process, and participate in local government. We are here because we believe in the future, in Hagerstown and in its future. Tonight, I need to address something directly. On multiple occasions when I have spoken before this body, Councilman Sean Flaherty has refused to look at me, and more than once has turned his back while speaking about me and the movement I represent. Even though he is not present tonight, this behavior matters because it reflects how this council treats the youth who engage with it. This conduct is not leadership, it is insecurity. Young people who are watching and learning what civic engagement looks like, and this behavior teaches them that someone in power can dismiss and belittle others simply because they hold a title. Being an elected official does not give anyone the right to abandon basic respect. I also want this council to be aware that Councilman Flaherty has tried to associate Vote 16 with the claims about other municipalities that allow so-called illegal aliens to vote. That has absolutely nothing to do with Vote 16. It is a deflection tactic used to avoid engaging honestly with the real issue. Looking at someone while they speak is not political, it is kindergarten level respect. If 5-year-olds can manage it, elected officials should too. I'm not asking for an apology, I'm asking for accountability. Because Councilman Flaherty is not here tonight, I'm asking the mayor and this council to make it clear to him that this behavior is not acceptable and to reflect on whether turning your back on a 17-year-old who came here prepared and respectful reflects leadership or an unwillingness to acknowledge that a young person can show more professionalism than an elected official. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to support Vote 16. Disagreement is democracy, but respect is not optional. Respect should not have an age limit and neither should the right to be heard. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Antoine.
How you guys doing today?
Good.
I represent a solar company called Sunburst Solar. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antoine Jones, and I'm proud to say I'm not only a representative of Sunburst Solar, but also a lifelong Hagerstown resident and a 2004 graduate of South Hagerstown High School. My roots are right here, my family, my mentors, and the community that shaped me. That's why it means so much to me to be standing here before you today to talk about an opportunity to make a lasting impact on the future of our city. As you know, the city of Hagerstown has always been a community that values progress, innovation, and stewardship. By embracing solar energy, we can continue that legacy, saving taxpayer dollars, reducing our environmental footprint, and setting an example for surrounding communities. Let's look at the numbers for a moment. If the city were to install solar across key municipal buildings, City Hall, the police department, the public works facility, and the wastewater treatment plant, we estimate potential savings of $150,000 to $200,000 every year in reduced energy costs. Over the next 25 years, that's more than $4 million in savings, all from energy we're already paying for today. These funds could be redirected into programs that make a real difference right here at home. Improving our schools, funding after-school youth programs, investing in small business support, and upgrading our parks and community spaces. In other words, the sun could power not just our buildings, but our local economy and our future. And here's the best part. Thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, cities like Hagerstown now qualify for the 40% federal investment tax credit through direct pay, meaning you receive a cash reimbursement for nearly half the system's costs. Combine that with Maryland state energy grants and tax exemptions, and the city could move forward with little to no upfront costs to taxpayers. The benefits don't stop at the bottom line. Going solar also reduces carbon emissions, supports Maryland's clean energy goals, and helps create local green jobs, including opportunities for young people right here in Washington County who want to enter the renewable energy workforce. This is our chance to show our leadership, to prove that the city of Hagerstown can be both fiscally responsible and environmentally forward-thinking. I'm proud to represent a Maryland-based company. I'm proud to represent a Maryland-based company that shares those values, and as someone who grew up here, I will be honored to see my hometown become a model for sustainability across the state. Together, we can make Hagerstown brighter, literally and figuratively, for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, Sean Porter.
Sorry, I like to use my own camera. Your angle always catches the worst side of me. It's sad to see Sean Flaherty's not here tonight. I hate being the largest Sean in the room. Anyhow, the reason I'm here this evening, HPD made a serious error back on May 25th and May 26th. A woman was beaten by an off-duty Anne Arundel County police officer. You'll see it's on the news right now as we speak in Baltimore. Fox 5 said they're going to cover it, but I think it's going to be tomorrow. Essentially, a woman got beat up by an entire softball team full of off-duty Anne Arundel County police officers and Maryland State police officers from Anne Arundel County at the Marriott out by the mall. She was beaten in a parking lot. She had her service dog attacked. The service dog is now unable to be a service dog. She's a fully disabled veteran. She was beaten. She was thrown on the ground, and she was kicked by an Anne Arundel County police officer. When HPD officer Dupree showed up, according to the body camera footage that I saw, she states, "Looks like we're going to have to charge some cops tonight." The next day, instead of charging the cops that beat the living crap out of two women, one of them a disabled Army veteran, they charged the victims of the brutal beating. And Gina Sorrentione, our elected state's attorney, whose husband is former law enforcement, retired, her whole family's former law enforcement, decided to let this ridiculous thing go all the way to a trial where Judge Victoria Lobley saw the video, just a little clip of it, saw these women getting the crap beat out of them, and said the only people who were the victims in this case are actually before me today as defendants, and they were both acquitted immediately. So I've looked at all the videos, I published them, I sent them to Internal Affairs in Anne Arundel County, I sent them to the media, I sent them everywhere. We went and applied for charges. This cop was charged. This cop was suspended today. They put out a press release a few hours ago. But HPD you have an officer named Dupree. I think her street name is like Dookie Dupree or something like that. It's a female police officer. She lied in her application for statement of charges, and she knowingly committed perjury over and over and over again throughout her application for statement of charges against these two women to write it so that the cops were the good guys and the victims. Some of these cops were 300 pounds. And these two women who left in ambulances, one of whom had a service dog that was attacked and beaten and kicked, were actually the aggressors, according to her creative writing. So I'm just informing the city that you got some problems coming. Obviously, the cop has been charged. She's suspended with pay pending the internal affairs investigation. I'm shortly going to post the video up on Facebook so you'll be able to actually watch it. It's pretty disgusting. Essentially, the Hagerstown Police Department has deprived this woman of her right to due process of law, maliciously prosecuted her, and defamed her, made her out to be this horrible human being when the video clearly shows her making no contact with these victims that beat the living crap out of her, got her on the ground and started kicking her, making her leave in an ambulance. You guys prosecuted her to the fullest, took it all the way to a trial, just acquitted, and that's malicious prosecution, and it shouldn't happen in Hagerstown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Board. Next up on the list was Arthur LaRue, and I do not see Arthur here this evening. And we'll move to the next one. We have Paul Schmidt.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. In May, I submitted a letter to the Ethics Committee asking them to investigate Councilperson Flaherty's behavior during meetings and concerning comments on official social media pages. I suggested that if the city lacks a code of conduct or a social media policy for elected officials, one should be created. To my knowledge, the city has still not created anything despite having these policies for staff. Since raising these concerns, I have been personally targeted by his behavior using his official councilperson page. I've been publicly called divisive, a loser, and stupid, among other things. He even talked about me as a councilperson on a podcast. This is clear retaliation. My concern today is not for myself. I can handle the criticism. My concern is for our community and for our youth who are witnessing this behavior from an elected official. When he is speaking as Councilperson Flaherty, he should represent the city, not his own personal opinions. How many other members of our community will now be afraid to engage for fear of this kind of official retaliation? I want to make the council aware that since these public attacks on my character and the sharing of misinformation about my views in his official capacity as a council person, I've had my car vandalized and people have come to my home. I'm in no way suggesting that Councilperson Flaherty committed these acts, but his actions contribute to a climate of fear and hostility that others act upon. This strengthens my position that clear expectations must be set. Being elected does not mean that you can act without accountability. I must also point out the hypocrisy in Councilperson Flaherty's stance on free speech. He has publicly defended the rights of others, even when he disagreed with their vulgar words and actions. He claims his own right to free speech protects his attacks on constituents, but in your last meeting, he wanted Councilperson Bell to be responsible for another person's speech towards police officers. How can he demand accountability from her for another person's speech, yet claim no accountability for his own? Does a person lose their right to free speech simply because they don't look like him or agree with him? His attacks create harm and pose a real threat to the democratic engagement and our physical safety. I'm again urging the mayor and city council to consider creating a code of conduct and a social media policy for elected officials that can be handled and investigated by the ethics committee. Elected officials should be held to the same or higher standard as staff. Please protect the citizens of Hagerstown and allow us to engage without fear of retaliation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
I think that's it. You got any emails? Nope. Okay. Next up, we have our motions. First one is approval of minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for approval of minutes as presented for the mayor and council meetings held on November 4th, 2025, November 5th, 2025, November 17th, 2025, November 18th, 2025, and November 25, 2025.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that all the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, approval of an ordinance, amendments to the City Code, Chapter 79, curfew for juveniles.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move to an approval, an ordinance to amend the City Code, Chapter 79 curfew for juveniles by redefining terms, changing the hours when in effect, and modifying the schedule of fines. These revisions incorporate the mayor and council discussion on September 16th, 2025.
I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of an ordinance zoning map amendment, Lorich property, 1912 Day Road.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that mayor and council approve an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Hagerstown to reclassify a portion of the subject 93-acre property, more or less, from the current CG zoning classification to N-MU pursuant to the application and exhibits entered into the record in this matter and attached decision in order.
Yeah, keep on.
A minor editorial correction appears in the 5th paragraph of the attached approval version of the ordinance, changing an incorrect reference to a zoning overlay to the correct reference to the portion of the property being reclassified. The introduction version pending mistakenly referred to this request as an overlay district.
I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of a resolution, approval of a user agreement with the Monocacy Aquatic Club for use of the Claude M. Potterfield Pool.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the mayor and council approval of a resolution to enter into a user agreement with the Monocacy Aquatic Club for use of the Claude M. Potterfield Pool. The agreement shall be for non-exclusive use of the pool for 9 weeks during the 2026, 2027, and 2028 pool seasons. The fee to the city of Hagerstown for the use of the pool will be $3,400 per year for each of the 3 pool seasons.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of resolution, revised access easement to Columbia Gas of Maryland.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move to approve a resolution to grant an access easement to Columbia Gas of Maryland across city property near 441 South Potomac Street in Alley 2-106. This agreement will rescind and replace an agreement previously approved on August 26, 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of a motion, approval of updates to guidelines and application for a Hagerstown Business Revolving Loan Fund Program.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for the mayor and mayor and city council to approve the attached updated guidelines and application for Hagerstown Business Revolving Loan Fund Program. Staff may make administrative edits as needed for the classification and administration of the program.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Acceptance of Axon Technology contract.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the mayor and council approval to enter into a 120-month contract with Axon Enterprise, Inc. for a comprehensive technology package that includes hardware, software licenses, and related services. This agreement consolidates multiple existing Axon contracts and provides an integrated suite of tools designed to enhance officer efficiency, streamline reporting, and improve overall operational effectiveness. The total contract value is $11,481,618.66. The contract term will commence on March 1, 2026 and will be paid for by HPD's general fund. Approval of this motion will permit city staff to execute all necessary contract documents and proceed with implementation.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval to authorize staff to terminate a lease agreement with UniFirst.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for mayor and council to approve authorizing staff to terminate a lease agreement as defined in the contract documents with UniFirst for uniform rental service.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval to modify the approved contribution to the Washington County Historical Society.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and city council to modify the October 28, 2025 approval of a financial contribution to the Washington County Historical Society. The modification maintains the city contribution at up to $40,000 and allows any Washington County contribution to count separately towards other pre-development costs. The total pre-development costs are estimated at $100,000. The city contribution will be paid from the Economic Redevelopment Fund.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval for new enterprise resource planning software project change order.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for mayor and council approval to move forward ERP project change order as follows. Approval of the change order to extend the Workday project timeline from January 2026 to July 2026 in the amount of $127,916, which covers all implementation costs during the first phase of the project. The funding source will be GFFB reserves.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Forfeiture from MD DHCD grant agreement of the CDC tax sale acquisition rehab grant.
Mr. Mayor, we move for mayor and council hereby direct staff to forfeit the fiscal year 2021 grant agreement with the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development for CDC tax sale acquisition rehab grant of $150,000.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That's it for the motions. Next up, city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Unbelievably, last meeting of 2025, your first year through. I just want to thank you all for the support you provided staff in the city. In 2025, I think you all should be very proud of as many new folks that we had come on board at the results that you've been able to achieve this year. And as we heard with the 10-year plan and with a budget, it's going to be a pretty challenging one. We got a lot more work to do in 2026. Also, I think the level of citizen participation that you all have fostered in the last year is commendable as well. I don't think I've ever seen the amount of interaction between the elected body and the citizens that I've seen in any administration's year, let alone it being your first year. So I want to thank you for that. And again, I'd be remiss if I didn't again thank you all for the support that you provided me and my family this year. I didn't get to participate in hardly any of the budget discussions, and the summer was kind of just a blur as well. But I appreciate you all looking out for me. I appreciate the staff and covering for me the way they did. And I'm looking forward to 2026 being a good year, not only for the city, but also personally for the rest of us. So again, thank you. German Christmas this weekend, Hager House, and Diamond Fest the last weekend. Also, Donut Drop December 31st. And we will see you on the 13th of January. Thank you.
Councilman Alshire.
City Administrator, I think that you participated in what you could and you focused on what mattered. And I think it was important for us to allow you to do that. I think that is the direction we should take with our employees in those circumstances in every instance. I just want to say happy holidays to everybody. And I'll be home over the holiday season. So if anybody needs anything, yeah, give me a buzz, send me a text. Even if you can't like shovel snow or something, I always like getting out of the house. Looking forward to it. My daughter's home for college, so fairly excited to get to family activities and a little bit of downtime. Not that I really know what that is, but and I'm late for a game, so I'm gonna head.
Councilwoman Anderson.
First off, let me just make myself clear. I don't condone any behavior from any council member, especially what was expressed by Taj and Zoe today. So on behalf of the city council, I just want to give you a sincere and genuine apology. And I would urge anyone to refrain from using the term illegal alien. I won't say we, because as of 2017, let's move with the word undocumented person. Secondly, Antoine, I want to say thank you for following through. I last saw you a few months ago, and I want to hear more. To Sean Porter, I think he's gone for the day, but I'll just go ahead and say this really quickly. I want to thank you for continuing to be our city advocator, our informants, anything by God you have it, but this is not the place. But I want to thank you for the story that you decided to share with us today. And last but not least, I wanted to give some condolences out to a few families. One is to the student that we just lost at North High. The second one is to Miss Woodson, and the third one is to a family friend and mother from St. Mary's who just passed on this Friday. And I wish everyone a Happy New Year.
Councilwoman Bell.
I can't believe this year has went by this fast. It's crazy. Mr. Antoine, thank you for your presentation. I look forward to hearing more as well. And it's always an honor and a pleasure to hear Zoe Burnett come to the mic. You speak with so much emphasis on what you are passionate about, so I thank you for that. It means a lot. I don't really have much else. I just want to say, let's go Huskies. My girls are in full swing of basketball, and I love every minute of it. So, and also just to piggyback off Councilmember Alshire, yes, Scott, you was here for what you needed to be, but you was where you was at was more important. But thank you for your leadership as well.
Councilwoman Burnett.
Thank you, Scott, for those kind words. It has been a quick, long year, but I am so thankful to be able to serve with you guys. I agree we made a lot of progress, and seeing the 10-year downtown plan presentation, I'm so excited. I am so excited. Thank you to staff and economic department, everyone for making this happen with, again, making sure that the community is heard. I really, really appreciate it, and I can't wait to get started. And also, I want to thank Chief DeBacco and Deputy Chief Hopkins for the HFD tour last week. I really appreciate it. It was cold, but thank you. And I want to wish everyone happy and safe holidays.
I had a chance yesterday to go to the grand opening and ribbon cutting of our new warehouse Websterant. I'm sure Councilman Alshire, if he was here, loves to see our warehouses full. So it was a $1.2 million facility. Not million dollar, I'm sorry, $1.2 million square feet of space. And looking at that place, it was amazing. The staff there was so enthusiastic with the way they greeted everyone, and that it was just great to see. Number two, I want to thank all the speakers that have spoken the last 2 months. We're doing exactly what we did the rule change for. We're keeping it germane to city business, and everybody's staying on topic, and everybody's staying at 3 minutes, and I thank you for that respect. And I also want to jump on board as well, and I want to thank, this first year has been quite eventful. I want to thank the city administrator, Scott Nicewarner, as well as Donna Spickler and Janet Lung. I want to thank everyone first, but those three have really mentored me through this first year. And I also want to jump on to the veterans of the council. Councilwoman Burnett and Councilman Alshire have really helped us all out a lot, and we really appreciate it. And I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone as well. And with that, do I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second? Any discussion on any items tonight? Okay, we're adjourned.